At dawn on May 27, 2015, the ultra-exclusive Bauer Olak Hotel in Zurich was eerily quiet. Some of the most powerful men in global sports were still asleep in their luxury suites. That silence was broken when unmarked vehicles pulled up to the entrance. Swiss authorities, acting on a United States federal indictment, moved in to arrest senior FIFA executives. These weren't charges of simple corporate mismanagement. The FBI cited racketeering, wire fraud, and money laundering, statutes typically used to dismantle drug cartels and mafia families. For billions of fans, football is an expression of national identity, but on this morning, the organization responsible for the game's integrity was being treated like a massive organized crime syndicate. On the surface, FIFA is a straightforward nonprofit. Its official mandate is to govern the rules of football and help grow the sport across the globe. Over several decades, however, the organization quietly evolved into a political force and a multi-billion-dollar financial powerhouse with no outside competition. To see why the FBI finally breached the doors in Zurich, we have to look past the pitch and audit the structural mechanics of how this global monopoly was actually built. FIFA's origins were humble. In 1904, 7 European nations met in Paris to form a small sports federation. At the time, they had zero financial power and no geopolitical leverage. The shift occurred in 1930. By organizing the very first World Cup in Uruguay, FIFA successfully monopolized control over international football tournaments. By the 1970s, the arrival of global satellite broadcasting and color television allowed the World Cup to reach billions of people simultaneously. This surge in viewership brought a flood of capital. Corporations competed for stadium real estate, while broadcasting rights were sold for astronomical sums. Hosting a World Cup now functioned as a massive economic engine, driving infrastructure booms and national prestige. As the value of the tournament reached the billions, the incentives for the men who controlled it began to shift. Corruption thrived on systemic vulnerabilities. First, FIFA holds absolute, centralized control. Any nation wanting to play must submit. Second, their one country, one vote system means a tiny island carries the exact same weight as a football superpower. Finally, there is the issue of oversight. Because it is an international entity based in Switzerland, national governments often lack the legal jurisdiction to intervene in FIFA's internal decisions. These factors, unregulated cash flow, equalized voting power, and weak oversight, practically incentivized the development of a lucrative, vote-trading shadow economy. In this shadow system, executive voting power was allegedly traded for secret offshore payments and luxury hospitality packages, far away from public scrutiny. In December 2010, the Executive Committee announced it was awarding the World Cup to Russia and Qatar in a single afternoon. The Qatar choice immediately drew global suspicion. Critics pointed to the climate unsuitability for a summer tournament and the total lack of existing stadium infrastructure. The decision suggested that selecting a host nation was no longer a question of football merit or infrastructure. The World Cup had become a transaction for strategic geopolitical influence. This pattern of behavior eventually caught the attention of global authorities. The 2010 bidding process served as the catalyst for the historic Department of Justice and FBI intervention. Following the arrests, FIFA faced total collapse. To survive, the organization promised sweeping transparency reforms, new leadership, and fortified ethics committees. However, these boardroom reforms haven't changed the underlying reality. The structural incentives, the billions in broadcasting revenue, and the unchecked monopoly power remain in place. While the faces in the boardroom have changed, the system itself has simply evolved to navigate new oversight while maintaining its immense financial leverage. Today, the sport exists in two separate realities. The visible reality is what the world falls in love with: the packed stadiums, the national pride, and the joy shared by billions of fans. The hidden reality is the one that dictates the terms. It is the world of closed-door geopolitical negotiations and quiet financial strategies that determine where and how the game is played. Both realities lead to the same 90 minutes on the grass, but the billions of fans who fund the machine only ever see the action on the pitch. It leaves us with one unresolved question. When a cultural asset holds this much geopolitical and financial power, Can any single independent organization truly be trusted to control it?